A baby who enters the pelvis not a category 1 is compromised. We don't do babies who are not category 1. So we should never find ourselves in a situation of catching a compromised baby. Does this make sense to you? Even the best of us will not be perfect all the time. So it may happen. We have to prepare for it. But if we do our risk assessment well, we will not deliver compromised babies. So how long do we have in a dystocia? Or longer. Because they came down into the pelvis with lots of reserves. Because we only take care of low-risk healthy babies who are full term and appropriately grown, right? So actually, we can take a lot of the paranoia out of shoulder dystocia when we understand fetal monitoring. Obstetricians don't have this luxury. They are taking care of everyone. They are taking care of disasters. They're taking care of folks who don't have prenatal care. They're taking care of walk-ins. They are taking care of folks they have no continuity of care with, whose babies are not category 1, who may be having illicit drug use, have improperly grown placentas, have all manner of chronic disease. They have a different process, a different risk status. And frankly, they're completely justified in their absolute paranoia of shoulder dystocia. But we are lucky. We practice with a completely different demographic. We have the creme de la creme. The healthiest, most amazing, self-selecting, generally well-fed, fat, squishy little people. And they're well-educated, informed, motivated, and passionate parents. We have the creme de la creme, the best of the best. And we're really good at risk assessment now that we've taken our fetal monitoring class, and so we don't catch babies who are compromised. So shoulder dystocia can definitely not scare you. You can relax about this. Not enough to not practice the techniques, but certainly enough to not be panicked about it. Yeah? So we have 4 minutes from compromise before we potentially risk brain damage. I have postulated that there's 3 types of shoulder dystocia. You cannot diagnose this in the moment. It's only after the fact. And it doesn't really change your treatment of it, but it helps to see it in these different ways. So the first potential type of shoulder dystocia is a baby who is stuck but not compromised. This baby came down with an arm behind its back, or this baby came down and didn't fully rotate, or this mom has a particularly flat pubic arch that caught the baby's shoulder, or she has a prominent sacral notch, so the baby's pushed up higher, or just somehow physiologically, mechanically, this baby doesn't move through the pelvis like we would expect. This baby is not in a disaster. This baby is stuck, but they still have good venous return. They had a nice normal pregnancy, labor. They're not distressed. It can take a while to get these babies out. This is why we hear stories on the grapevine of midwives attending shoulder dystocias that lasted 10 minutes. You guys heard this? It was an 8-minute dystocia, but then the baby cried right away and it was fine. Stuck, but not compromised. You had to work to get him out. Good job. But he was never struggling, so he's a normal baby. The second kind is babies who are compromised but not stuck. They came down into the pelvis without any tone because they're conserving energy or they've completely lost their reserves. Now they have no tone in their body and they're just being pushed out. Babies are an active part of delivery. They move and they rotate and their little muscles participate in getting born. And when they've lost reserves, they don't participate anymore. So these are those stories we hear from midwives who just reach in and do one little thing and the baby comes out and then needs a 7-minute resuscitation, is on cooling for 3 days in the NICU. That wasn't really a dystocia. That was a compromised baby. You've heard these stories? And then the third type of dystocia is when they're both stuck and compromised. And this is the oh shit birth that really everyone's afraid of when we talk about dystocia. And I think understanding and putting in these 3 categories, it can help you really understand how to approach this process and how to be prepared and how to risk out folks that don't belong in your care. The very worst scenario would be to have a compromised baby who also doesn't fit because it's lost tone, it's a tight fit, it's a funky shaped pelvis, it's a baby in a funky position, etc., etc. That's the very worst.